All right. Hello, everyone. All right. I see the names. I see everybody signing on. Team Justice in the house. All right. Let's get to the roll call, right? Suzanne, Aaron, Trish, Maria, Gonzo, Gatto, Randy, Midas, Vicky, Lisa. Whoops. Let's see. Come on now. Expand for me. There we go. Where was I? Mike, LSW, Nancy, Faye Chrisley, Christy. Come on, scroll. Lori, Carolyn, Valerie R., Rosalind, Nadine, Catherine, Todd, Amy, Lisa, Janet, Yuri Shavago. Any relation? Dr. Shavago? Bad joke. I know you've probably heard that one before, but let me welcome Yuri Shavago because I think that's the first time I've seen that name. Kathy, Kelly, Sandra. Hello, Demian. Hello, Marie, Oren, Carolyn, Tracy, Judine. Hello, Judine. Up, see, Judine already noticed the blue shirt. Somebody last night, maybe more than one person, said, "Yeah, I don't like you in dark shirts. I like you in light shirts." So I promised that I would wear a colorful shirt tonight. So I went with blue, even though I've got my black T-shirt and jacket over there. I said no. I promised that I would wear a light color tonight. Hello, Allison, Susan, Deborah, Lee, Susie, Janet, Richard, Aaron, Diane, Kelly, light colored shirt. That's it, Kelly. Who was it that told me last night, I don't like you in dark shirts? I got such a kick out of that. Um, Trish, new Trish checking in. What is that? Dawn, I think you're the only Trish. I think there's only one Trish, if I'm not mistaken. Hello, Margaret, Lori, Catherine, Vicky, Oaths Matter, David. Hello, Figment, Marianne, Marie, Ellie, Maggie, Jean, Jean, Betty, Colleen, Trisha, Reggie, Stacy, Kendra, Lady Slipper, Orchid. All these names are so familiar to me now. Janice, Claire, Peter Sobey in the house. Forget. Oh, it's Thursday night football. Oh, well, thank you for being with me. Has the game started? I think tonight is Cowboys Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. I grew up in a football household. My pop was a high school football coach and a wrestling coach and a boxer. So those are the things I did growing up. The joke I tell, which is not entirely a joke, is that my pop, may he rest in peace. My pop coached at and got kicked out of every respectable high school football program in New Jersey, which is a little bit of an overstatement, but only a little bit. So yeah, I'm still a football guy. I enjoy kicking back. I don't even care who's playing anymore. I just like kicking back and watching a good football game. Hello, Millie, Koshin, Jessica. I did. I went with the bright blue shirt tonight, per somebody's request. Michelle, Earl, Deborah, Carla, Vicky, Will, Carol, Michael, Leslie, Janet, Claire. I know some of these names are popping up multiple times. Kathy, but I'm just going to keep reading them. Tara, Estrell Biggs. Hello, Estrella. Estrella Biggs. This is my third try. Estrella Briggs. Apologies, Estrella. It only took me 3 tries to get it right. And I don't know if you're with us for the first time or I just haven't seen your name before. Um, all right. Kath Mack, Kathy Connolly. No tank top. All right. Now, I don't think you can get me to put on a tank top. Um, Blue is the thank you. Thank you, Dawn. Stacy. Oh, see, Stacy likes the dark colors. All right. Now I'm going to have to go back and forth between the bright colors and the dark colors. Lee likes the black shirts. Looks cool. I've never been accused of looking cool. So thank you for that, Lee. It was because of the dark background. Good point. In my house, I have the very dark green blue bookcase behind me. And here in my office, which I can kind of show you, there's my, you see that big oversized Justice Matters sign? Can I just tell you all that that's 4 years of high school wood shop put to good use right there? Not kidding. I made that. Yeah. I'm a manual laborer at heart, by the way. That's my Maryland State Troopers Stetson, which I was given by the Maryland State Police when I handled a murder case. It was actually a death penalty case. The death penalty was not imposed. I'm not a fan of the death penalty, but I wasn't a conscientious objector either. I worked those cases both as an Army JAG prosecutor and as a federal prosecutor at DOJ. But yeah, that was a Maryland state trooper who was part of an FBI multi-jurisdictional task force was murdered. He was an undercover officer at the time. Edward Totley is his name. I think end of watch for him was October of 2000. And after I finished the case, they gave me that Trooper Stetson and they made me an honorary Maryland State Trooper. I have this Maryland State Police Trooper badge in a lucite pyramid, which I asked them if I can kind of break it out so maybe I can flash that badge and get out of traffic tickets. That's a joke, just a joke. That would be wrong. While I'm showing you memorabilia, if you're interested, I swear I'm going to start talking about stuff in a minute. I have a bunch of stuff over here, and can I tell you what I am very attached to? There's a homicide detective who took me under his wing and taught me how to do it when I was a young homicide prosecutor. You always learn from your detectives and your investigators and your officers and your agents far more than you're going to learn from your fellow prosecutors and attorneys. Just like when I was in the Army, I learned more from my NCOs, my sergeants, and my chief warrant officers than I did my fellow commissioned officers. Anyway, this man right here, Lauren Ledman, one of the legendary homicide detective in Washington, D.C. And when he passed away, his wife said that he wanted me to have his D1 detective's badge. And I am very attached to that. Anyway, okay, I'm done. I think I'm done with both the show and tell portion of the program and also with the roll call. Aaron, Bradley, Bill, I guess I'm not quite done with the roll call yet. Ruth, hello, Ruth. Okay, who's going to count us down? I'm sure somebody already has. Let me scroll up in the comments and then we will get going because we've got some good stuff to talk about tonight. All right, we're going to go points of light tonight. We're going to go full on points of light. Thank you, Marie. 3, 2, 1, let's do it. And Marie says, let's do it. Wear anything to suit your mood. I went with blue tonight. All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for jumping on with me this Thursday evening. We're through the show and tell portion and the roll call portion of tonight's get together. Thank you for jumping on. We're going to go full on points of light tonight. We could use some good news stories, and we've got some. I'm going to cover two, and they're related because they both involve law enforcement in my beloved District of Columbia. You know, I served the people of Washington, D.C. for 24 of my 30 years as a prosecutor and was honored to do it. And Donald Trump, of course, has militarized Washington, D.C. in lots of awful and unlawful ways. We're going to talk about that and a new lawsuit. And we're also going to talk about the top prosecutor in Washington, D.C., U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, former Fox Entertainment host. I don't often say Fox News because I think that is a misnomer. I don't think that's accurate. It's more Fox Entertainment or maybe Fox Propaganda. And these two stories are somewhat related. They both involve law enforcement in Washington, D.C. But let's start with the lawsuit. So fresh off his crushing loss out in California, right? Donald Trump's crushing loss where a federal court ruled that his militarization of the streets of LA was flat out unlawful, and that will be appealed, but it was a strong and solid ruling by Judge Breyer. Fresh off that devastating loss, Donald Trump was sued today. And this just feels appropriate to me. He was sued by Washington, D.C. He was sued by the District of Columbia, specifically the Attorney General for the District of Columbia, sued Donald Trump today. And not just Donald Trump, but here is the new suit that was just filed. It's Donald Trump, and the United States Department of Defense and Pete Hegseth and the U.S. Army and Daniel Driscoll and the Department of Justice and Pam Bondi and the Marshal Service and others. Lots of defendants in this one. And not unlike the suit that just played out in California, this is all about the unlawful militarization of Washington, D.C. And they make some great arguments in this lawsuit. I mean, think about this, friends. There are National Guard members from 7 different states now patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C., all red states, mind you. And this is flat out unlawful. Donald Trump does have more authority over the DC National Guard because DC is not a state, it's a federal city. And the way it's structured, Donald Trump can activate them. But he can't take National Guardsmen and women from the 50 states and bring them to DC to perform law enforcement functions. That's wrong in like 3 different ways, right? First of all, he's put them under the control of the Pentagon, the military. So now we have the military engaged in civilian law enforcement functions and efforts. That is exactly what the federal law prohibits. It's a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act, saying that the military cannot, it's illegal for the military to engage in civilian law enforcement, but that's precisely what's going on. Plus, the National Guard members from the 7 red states who are now patrolling the streets of D.C., they're beholden to the governors of those states. That's under whose control they are. And the governors can't just relinquish them and say, yeah, I'm going to give them all to Donald Trump and the Pentagon to enforce the civilian laws of D.C. Even as I'm saying this, it's wrong in so many flippin' ways. So I look forward to this lawsuit winding its way through the system in D.C. There's actually a former public defender who is now a federal court judge, Gia Cobb, who caught this judicial assignment. That's a good thing, too. I find that public defenders sometimes make the best judges. They have been in the trenches seeing how the law can be not only applied, but misapplied to their clients, seeing how the Constitution is designed to protect people's rights, and seeing how the government can sometimes use the Constitution to violate people's rights. So, when I say public defenders are often the best judges, one of my personal favorite judges in district court in Washington, D.C., is Tanya Chutkan. You probably remember Tanya Chutkan was the assigned judge handling Donald Trump's January 6th insurrection criminal prosecution, for which he should be serving time right now if it wasn't for a compromised Supreme Court. Tanya Chutkan was was a local public defender in D.C., and I tried murder cases against then Tanya Chutkan, now Judge Chutkan. Yes, public defenders make some of the best judges, in my opinion and experience. Prosecutors often make good judges too, but not always. So that is another great development on the heels of losing in California. Donald Trump is now being sued, and I think will very likely lose in D.C. for militarizing the streets of D.C. So those would be coast-to-coast losses for Donald Trump. That's a good thing. Now, let's shift over to the second story. I read this and a big smile broke out on my face, because we've been seeing how Donald Trump's United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, has been failing spectacularly at being the top prosecutor in D.C. How? 6 grand juries have refused to indict felony charges against protesters and others because it was the wrong thing to do. It wasn't supported by the evidence or the law, and it was just not the right thing to do. When you throw a sandwich at an officer, which you shouldn't do, that's not an 8-year federal felony offense, for gosh sakes. And I think Even police officers, I think, would agree with that. So we know that Jeanine Pirro has been failing spectacularly in a number of ways in DC. But here is something that I think reveals who Jeanine Pirro really is, as assessed by her peers and her supervisors and the executives at the Fox network. Did you all see this reporting from NPR? Trying to scroll up to see because y'all are usually 3 steps ahead of me. I can't keep up with the comments. Can we throw donuts? No, you can't throw donuts either. Hello, Fastball Fredo. You just signed on. I guess you're saying hello. No, don't throw anything at police officers. And that's not a joke. Not sandwiches, not donuts. Don't throw condiments. Don't no pot roast. That's out. Baked potatoes. Don't do it. Yeah, now that ends the comedy portion of tonight's chat. Seriously, don't do it. Don't put hands on officers. Don't step between officers when they're trying to take somebody into custody. Film it. Speak out, right? Exercise your First Amendment rights, not only to free speech, but to assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. Do it all. But don't put hands on or throw anything at officers. Don't do it. But here is the reporting about Jeanine Pirro from NPR today, and I love this. Here's the headline. Fox bosses privately called U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, quote, reckless maniac, and more. That's the NPR headline. Reckless maniac. Listen to these quotes from Fox executives who know Jeanine Pirro well. And this comes from court filings, mind you. This is not anonymous sources. This is not, this is in a court filing brought against Fox and Jeanine Pirro as a defendant, because all the best U.S. attorneys are also defendants in defamation suits. My God, the people of D.C. deserve so much better than this. They do not deserve Jeanine Pirro. So this is in the suit that was brought by Smartmatic voting systems, voting machines. Remember how Dominion voting systems successfully sued Fox, and Fox ended up settling for $750 million. They had to pay their way out of that defamation suit because they were caught lying about the 2020 election. And people are still tuning into Fox, which is bizarre to me. But now Smartmatic, who was also defamed, according to this lawsuit, by Fox and Jeanine Pirro, are now suing. And this is something that just came out in the court filings. Are you ready for this? I'm going to read it slow because we need to savor it. A Fox News executive, now I'm reading, that was the headline, I'm going to the article itself. A Fox News executive has called a prominent Trump appointee a reckless maniac. Another Fox executive said, quote, I don't trust her to be responsible, close quote. A third Fox executive condemned her for the, quote, tendency to find random conspiracy theories on weird internet sites, close quote. And a Fox corporate board member called a public statement of hers, quote, insane, close quote. And who were they describing? The person they were talking about is Jeanine Pirro, now the United States top law enforcement official for Washington, D.C. This was their experience with her when she was a Fox anchor. A reckless maniac. I don't trust her to be responsible. She has a proclivity to find random conspiracy theories on weird internet sites, and public statements of hers are insane. They're talking about defendant slash DC U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro. Those are the people who know her, who worked with her behind the scenes, who know exactly what she's all about. And those words used by Fox executives and board members to describe Jeanine Pirro, they're describing the person who's the top prosecutor in Washington, D.C. And that, in a word, is insane. They need to raise a stink in D.C., and we need to raise a stink everywhere, that Jeanine Pirro should resign. She should resign. She's tried to indict a ham sandwich 6 times and has failed. More precisely, she has abused the grand jury process and practice. She has engaged in prosecutorial overreach and potentially even prosecutorial misconduct, depending on exactly how she presented that one case 3 times to 3 grand juries, and they said no, no, and no. Well, now you hear from the people who know her best, the Fox executives, what she was really all about. And she's being sued for defamation for lying about the 2020 election. That's the top prosecutor in Washington, D.C. The people of D.C. deserve better. The prosecutors in the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office deserve better, many of whom I know extremely well. They're former colleagues, they're friends, they're former trial partners of mine, and former supervisees of mine. These were some of the homicide prosecutors that I supervised when I was chief of homicide, and I tried cases with. They were then put on the trial teams for the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and Roger Stone and Steve Bannon. And I would sit there and cover those cases when I was with MSNBC, which I am no longer, and would watch my former prosecutors and my trial partners and my friends try those cases. And I could not have been more proud. They deserve better. They should not have to work for the likes of a Jeanine Pirro, who was described once again as a reckless maniac, not worthy of being trusted, and insane, issuing statements that are insane. In fairness, that's what the Fox executives and board members said about her. She needs to go, just as RFK Jr. needs to go, and Donald Trump needs to go. But Jeanine Pirro needs to go. She is a menace to the people of the District of Columbia. And I think we need to start calling for her resignation. Just like we heard calls for RFK Jr.'s resignation when he's endangering the children of our country. That's a topic for another day. And we saw those brave women standing up on Capitol Hill talking about what Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell did and demanding the release of the Epstein files. These are all things that we should be calling for daily, standing up, speaking out, staying strong, marching, rallying, and protesting to get rid of not only Donald Trump, but the RFK Jr.'s and the Jeanine Pirros of this horrifically dark chapter in our nation's history. We got to stay on it. We got to stay on it. And we will. All right, everybody. Thanks for jumping on. I haven't seen if anybody has given me any wardrobe suggestions for tomorrow night's Law Talk. But I am looking at the comments right now. Epstein files. Yes, yes, yes. Epstein files. Remember, it's the Trump Epstein Maxwell scandal, not just the Epstein Maxwell scandal. Trump will appoint another idiot. I agree, Deborah, but that doesn't mean we can't demand the resignation of the idiot who is in place, right? All right, everybody. Thank you. Pete Kegseth. Oh, I like that, Lori. I've never heard that before. I have heard he's a DUI hire, and I do like that and agree with it. All right, everybody. Thank you for jumping on. Have a great rest of your Thursday night. Have a wonderful Friday. We've got a weekend coming. Self-care is important, as always. And I hope to see you again tomorrow night.